All right, now we got John Quarterman, the Executive Director of the Suwannee Riverkeepers.
Hi there. John S. Quarterman. I'm the Suwannee Riverkeeper. I do advocacy. That's what that's for. That's a project and a staff position at WWALS Watershed Coalition, Inc. I'm also the executive director for handling the business. That's typical of waterkeepers. There's about 350 of us worldwide. A lot of them are one-person shop. I'm happy to say we got a lot of volunteers helping. I can just push this, I think. Yeah. And I want to invite all of you to come down Saturday, March 7th to the Mayor and Chairman's Paddle on the Withlacoochee River, just west of Valdosta. We had 40 people in 2025. Thanks to Georgia Power for sponsoring that several years now. Joe's still here? Anyway, Joe Brownlee. The mayor there came up with this idea, what was that, 5, 6 years ago? After a couple of years, I said to him, Mayor, you got to share. And our chairman here, he agreed, so now it's the Mayor and Chairman's Paddle. To prepare for that, we do what we call chainsaw cleanups. Chainsaws and boats, you'd like it. You don't have to use a chainsaw, you can just come along. And we do that not only on the Withlacoochee, but in a bunch of other places. On the Suwannee, I lost a chainsaw there. On the Lapahoochee River, in which we found out that even dead gators can swim. I don't have time to tell that story. Thanks to Wild Green Future for the grant that bought a bunch of the stuff we use, and we wouldn't mind some state support. There's a lot of deadfalls, particularly from Hurricane Helene. And we get people coming from far away to go on WWALS paddle outings from Alabama, South Carolina, Miami. We usually do at least 2 paddles a month. We got 2 coming up in the Okefenokee Swamp in November and December. Speaking of which, the map there on the right, that's our territory. Half in Georgia, half in Florida. And I trust you all already know we still need legislation to protect the Okefenokee Swamp from strip mining. The particular miners were bought out, but there's a bunch more vulnerable land, and there's vulnerable land on the south of the swamp because of potential phosphate mining. 85% of the Okefenokee Swamp is in the Suwannee River Basin. We also do full moon paddles on the other National Wildlife Refuge run by the same people, Banks Lake National Wildlife Refuge, about half an hour northeast of Valdosta. And we have, people come from as far as North Georgia to do that. On the left in that picture, that's Kim and Janet, the co-chairs of our outings committee, is how we can have all these outings. And we have water trails. If you want to see these things, there's a bunch of them by the door over there. The rat cards, they're in welcome centers on I-75 at the Tennessee and Georgia border, and ditto I-95 and also all over Florida. That's why relatively expensive rat cards. And these were mostly paid for by grants from Georgia DNR. Thank you, Georgia DNR. We're working on something that you may not have heard of this. River camps. There are only 5 like this in the world, the 5 Suwannee River camps. And there could be one in Lowndes County pretty soon, on where the Little River comes into the Withlacoochee River just west of Valdosta. Thanks to the county for putting $1 million in the SPLOST project list. And they may be applying for a Georgia Outdoor Stewardship Program grant application, in which is a way the state could help. All right, we also do a gala, which includes the Suwannee Riverkeeper Songwriting Contest. On the left there, that's Rena Ann Peck of Georgia River. She came down from Atlanta. So did Suzanne Wellender, co-author of Canoeing, Kayaking, Georgia. Nobody really ships bales of cotton to market down the rivers these days. And on our rivers, probably nobody ever did because there's shoals everywhere. So what people actually do is paddling, powerboating, fishing, and swimming. And it'd be really nice to get that antique 1863 law changed. The House made a stab at that, but basically decided to do nothing. Maybe the Senate could take up changing that law. And it would also help if the state would fund more game wardens. Now, I know they do a lot of good work, but certainly more of them would help and do more. You heard about chronic wasting disease. The other speaker was Rick Davis, chair of the Downstream Florida Counties River Contamination Task Force. He bragged on Valdosta spending, I believe it's upwards of $160 million so far, fixing their sewer system. More to do, and he urged more water quality testing. We would like the state to do more water quality testing, and to fund more testing, we'll be sending in a grant request for something having to do with upstream stuff. And please fully fund the Georgia Environmental Protection Division. Water quality testing and reporting. We do what we can. We post a report every Friday. We keep a spreadsheet. That's an example excerpt of the spreadsheet. I know it's hard to read. That's part of the point. There is a much better way to display this stuff. It's called Know Your River, which is in use for the Savannah and Ogeechee rivers. It was invented by Suwannee Riverkeeper. Also, all the rivers of Alabama are in Know Your River now. The money for Savannah Ogeechee rivers came from EPD, but EPD is reluctant to do this for the rest of the state. Seems to me maybe the legislature could just, appropriate the money. That'd solve the problem. I would highly recommend it. It makes it a lot easier to see this stuff. Okay, we also hold cleanups. Now, here's something that the legislature could do very straightforwardly. We thank the county here for its litter crew, the city of Valdosta for trash traps on its creek, and for enforcing its trash ordinances, which are actually very good, but the trash just keeps coming back. Now, how many of you in the room actually manufacture single-use throwaway plastic bottles? Nobody. Okay, well, people do, companies, and there's no reason that they need to. Other states, most recently Colorado, have passed laws saying, stop distributing this stuff. And in 2024, there was a bill in the Senate, SB 49, lots of exemptions, but basically no person shall distribute any bag made of plastic film or automated extruded polystyrene styrofoam. So the state could do that. That would be great. That would do a lot more than everything else we've been doing. And if the sewage spills and the trash are stopped, there's an opportunity for a fabulous creek urban greenway inside Valdosta, kind of like the one in Austin, Texas. All right, so come on down for the paddles and festivals, and there's more stuff the state could do to assist with water quality testing, stopping trash, fixing the navigability law, funding Georgia EPD and DNR, game wardens, and also the SGMC Trauma Center. So the state's been helping a lot already, and there's more the state could do. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions?